Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome chess lovers. In today's video I'm going to tackle a problem that hopefully is going to enable you to become a much better and a lot more confident endgame player. So let's jump right into it. What is it that we are going to discuss today? The idea is going to be none other than a very simplistic transition both on the chessboard and in mentality from middle game to end game. And what I really want you to do is to forget about attacking as an activity or something that you would like to execute as a long-term plan as soon as you transition from mid-game to end-game. So when you spend a fair few moves on trying to generate an attack against the enemy king and all of a sudden the queens come off, that's when you draw a very firm line, you hit reset, and you start thinking about, okay, this is a new phase of the game and I need to have an entirely new mindset. I need to have new tools, new weapons, new everything to approach this next big step. And that's when attack on the king becomes an almost impossibility and it needs to be gone and replaced with a new mentality which is focused on weaknesses and targeting those weaknesses. Let me show you what it actually looks like in practice by none other than one of the greatest endgame players of all time, Anatoly Karpov, who is right in the middle of a dragon, which is notoriously known to be one of the most aggressive openings out there ever. And indeed, the two players are really having a go at each other, Black is trying to pile up on the queen side and create an attack here, and White has already introduced his attacking intentions on the king side. And so it's safe to say that you would assume that these attacks will go ahead. But here Karpov changes the direction of the game, very much by the way to his style, and offers a queen trade, one that cannot really be refuted, and the queens are off. And unless you do what I told you to do, you are going to be instantly on the back foot. So you must accept that now we have entered a new phase of the game. And again, the rules of this game are fundamentally different. So from here on, if you're still thinking, oh yeah, I will push, I will double, and it's going to be awesome. No, it's not going to be awesome. You do not have enough pieces and you do not have powerful enough pieces anymore to be able to contest a well-fortified king like this. So now we need to switch out of this mentality into finding a new plan. Karpov here finishes development first and then begins his operation with f4. Now this is the move where I would expect you to come back at me going like, he's still attacking the king side, but no, actually no, he isn't. f4 has got two main purposes, neither of them has anything to do with kingside operations. It denies the knight to come to e5, but more importantly, it prepares the rook lift for the h1 rook to come to the queen side, where he's hoping to find a weakness to target. So he goes rook h3, then he plays rook e3. That's already a weakness targeted the backward e7 pawn. And after b5, now he's going to try to play against these two pawns, which are now somewhat fixed on the color of this white bishop on e2. So he trades the bishops, rook d4. Now that rook is also ready to swing across towards the queen side. Note that no action whatsoever is taking place on the king side anymore. a5, b4. Again, trying to fix a weak pawn on b5 that now black constantly has to defend. Knight a4, ba5. And now he has got a passer on the a file, but he also happens to have an easy target on b5 to pick on. So for example, if rook a7, then I can now take the pawn on b5 and pick off the knight. Tactics are still allowed. So, Miles went knight c3, bishop back, we don't want that trade. King f8, king b2, bringing the king up. Very cleverly all the way to b3 so that the knight moves do not come with checks. And here comes a very cool motif that really made this game very famous. After a6, now Karpov is threatening with a beautiful exchange sack. Watch this. boomski. And it turns out that the combined power of this pawn and this bishop means that this pawn is good to go all the way to touchdown. Wow. So for example, takes, rook c5, king b4, rook back wherevs, and after bishop g2, black can't stop me from either going all the way, or if they play e6 in order to shut the bishop out, then I will play bishop in first and then up, and I win. But this is really a little bit going on a tangent. The game ended actually with rook in, and then still Karpov executed this plan to perfection with rook b8 next. But what you could certainly observe in this game was that it started off in the opening with a vicious kingside attack, g4, h4, and it looks like he's good to go. And in fact, mainline theory here is actually h5, continuing the attack. But Karpov opts for the endgame, and then he treats it like an endgame. So he immediately grasps the main structural and mental change and acts accordingly. He's able to constantly switch into a new plan, new strategy, new requirements, new everything, and plays it to perfection. I will show you another example. This is actually a position that I composed myself for this very video. So again, if I showed this position to 100 club level players and I asked them what would you do for white here, there would be at least 20-30 of them who would go here g4 or h5 or f4 or any combination of those pawns rolling up into nothing, because we do not have an attack there anymore. There would be, interestingly, I have to point this out, another 50 who would play rook e1, which is also not really a great move, but I'm again going a bit on a tangent because after king e7 the rook trades are going to come in. Nah, this is where we need to think in terms of weaknesses, which we currently can't see any, and therefore we need to have the mentality of creating a weakness, which is the move c4. And this move is just a beautiful demonstration of what it takes to identify the correct plan and how to accomplish it. So now if black takes, we have a weakness here, an isolated pawn also on the color of the bishop. Awesome news. If they don't engage, I take, isolated pawn. Again, easy target to pick. We are going to reroute the bishop, blockade the pawn, pile up on it. We have a meaningless plan to work for, or to work on rather. And finally, if they push it in, which is probably the worst, then we push past, and now we have created two weaknesses. One on the color of the bishop on c6, and one on d4, which has been separated from the rest of the chain. So, to summarize the main message of this video, you reach the end game, you switch out from attack, you move into attack weakness, or target weaknesses, or if there isn't any, then create a weakness and then target it. There will be, like once in 1,000 times, you will find endgames where you can realistically create an attack against the enemy king, but that is the exception to the rule. The rule is the endgame means weaknesses, target them, try to win them. I hope that this, guys, was very helpful for you. I really hope it was. And on that note, I'm going to now call it off, and we'll be back with more advice of similar kind very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.